television. You know, I'm looking to see the actors come out of the dramatic music, talking romantic somethings or nothings in sports fans' ears.
It's afternoon
They're
television.
going to give soft players unanimous MVPs and speak to them like they gods, and they can't play defense. They don't even think of playing defense. The defenses they play is when you mug a little kid on the basketball court as you're teaching him the game.
Question, because we know who you're talking about. I got a question. James Harden, does he play defense?
Hell no.
Okay. So then why don't you go with that? Why don't you go with that?
Hell no.
Because he also, listen, and he's from LA, but he also hasn't won anything. So why don't you attack that MVP?
I'm going to attack that.
As opposed to the one who's won 3 rings.
There is one commonality between James Harden not winning anything. And it's their coach, Mike D'Antoni.
Why did he leave Oklahoma City?
Because he can inflate his stats. He knows that. Yo,
why not stay there and win, Stephon Marbury? Oh, my bad.
Look at what D'Antoni did for Steve Nash. He made him an MVP. When he was in Dallas.
He was in Dallas. I thought it was the writers.
When he was in Dallas and rocking with Dirk, Chris Webber was dogging him, and they couldn't get out the first round. He goes to Mike D'Antoni's system, which picks off his man and gives him a layup at the bucket, at the rim, which makes 50, 40, 90 relevant. Shout out to the ineptitude and clownness of John Hollinger, who replaced Lionel Hollins off of 50, 40, 90 in sports analytics, replacing great basketball people. Listen, man. Look. I'm a writer who goes to the games, and I look throughout the crowd, and I see the Christmas eyes, as I call it, of the fans that don't get a chance to see stars. You know, I'm a little bit jaded because I see them all the time. I talk to them all the time, and I'm not starstruck. Only person that has starstruck me has been Roy Ayers. You know? So when I go to the games and I see that the fantasy that these sports leagues give to fans, what eludes is the facts of sports. You know, the appreciation of history, the respect for the actual game, the soul rock soul, as I call it. Most of the people covering sports today have never picked up a basketball. Okay, so when that happens, these reporters, quote unquote reporters, ascend the game historically through their words, through their reports. And because fans are clamoring to know as much information as they want to about sports, they follow these dudes. Skip Bayless has been allowed to become Howard Cosell to LeBron's Ali. I interviewed Skip Bayless for 3 hours. He told me the blueprint. He likes to have an African American on the other side of him, and basically he takes the black side of things. But when it comes to certain athletes, and this is how a lot of sport writers send in the game, Wojo, the guy at Pro Football Talk with Vic, Wojo with LeBron James, Skip Bayless with LeBron James. So everybody forgets like the origin of their ascension and the BS that was. But they respect these people as if they should be deified and even give them even any sense of homage based on the divisiveness that they speak. This era is nothing but a comparison era. It's disgusting. As soon as I see a group that somebody's invited me to that compares a player to another, I'm out. I don't give a damn about what sports fans want. We have to give them also what they need. And if I gotta be the only goddamn person to do that, I will shout it to the heavens in front of 1 million men. So when Steph Curry wins unanimous MVP, when LeBron James is in the league and taking all of these different teams into the finals, that's some bullshit. I'm sorry. It's some bullshit. And we can look back further. Steve Nash winning 2 MVPs, 18 and 12, 15 and 10, whatever it was. No finals. Dirk Nowitzki going to the final, going to getting MVP the next year and getting put out in the next round and dunked on. Well, that was AK-47 that our man Barron dunked on, right? But listen, man, listen, I want the strength. I want the toughness. I want the bad boys. I don't want no 3-point soft-ass shooters from 35 feet defining the game. And changing the game, as you said, that isn't a definition of basketball. It is allowing unathletic players to fantasize.
No, but you know what? Check this out. That brings
hold on, let me finish, because y'all asked me, so I'm giving it to y'all, right?
Okay.
You got to remind me what we asked.
5 men in basketball.
Right.
Okay, 5 men. The 1, the 2,
women.
the 3, the 4, which has become a stretch 4, soft as hell, and the 5. Okay, this is why I wish that Hank Gathers and Len Bias lived, because they would have gave strength to the 4, even though they were all stretch 4s, but they would have given strength to it, toughness. I saw one guy said that Dirk Nowitzki was a better NBA player than Julius Erving.
No, you didn't.
Oh, yes, I did. I've seen it many times. You put that question up on your on your page.
No, it's blasphemous to put it on my page.
I'm telling you, this is the reason why I can't get with this whole sports era, because he's allowed to become a top 20 player now. You can ask me forever about that finals where LeBron had 11 points in the fourth quarters, and giving up dunks for 3-point shots. I was glad that The Last Dance showed the Michael Jordan kick and drive, so we can see the origin of that, right? Listen, man, this ain't NBA Jam. You know what I mean? This ain't NBA Jam. This ain't 2K. This ain't NBA Live, to where the game is centered around the 3-point shot or the dunk. Okay, there's more than that. But we are allowing the game to be defined as that because we're giving soft-ass players like Steph Curry the MVP, the unanimous MVP.
Oh, boy. So just so we're clear, that's just Mizzo. That's only Mizzo.
One more point.
Right. Yeah, that's only Mizzo.
Okay.
I mean, I can see it, but
that first NBA final, when Kyrie Irving was giving it to Steph Curry, the chase down block at the rim with the left hand thing was one of the best blocks I've ever seen. He tears his knee in the finals, and everything changes.
Mizzo,
I would have loved to see both teams at total capacity, even with Draymond Green.
Listen, I don't know how many times I have to tell you we're not allowed to do this, because guess what? In 1989, the Lakers were 11-0 headed into the finals. Check this. No, my turn. Check the Sports Illustrated cover. James Worthy with the left-handed dunk is on the Sports Illustrated cover, 11-0, and then Byron Scott hurt his hamstring and Magic
and is out of the finals. Though that's
Wait,
what I'm saying. When have you ever seen a player? When have you ever seen a player get hurt in the finals and is no longer there?
Or suspended, like Draymond?
No, I'm not talking about from game 2 on. No longer there.
When have I ever seen that?
Yeah. Like one of the top players on either team get injured and is no longer there.
Why are we drilling it down? Why are we drilling it down to that? How about someone who gets injured going into? Well, how about someone getting injured going into game 1? That's worse. That was Byron Scott.
I agree.
1989.
Yo, listen, you're not going to get a disagreement with me.
And that was again.
But it is relevant to make that point. It's relevant to make
it doesn't do anything, but it doesn't do. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
It's relevant that Draymond Green got suspended. It's relevant. I'm not gonna say that it's not.
So if you flip flop those finals, then it's still 1-1 in those two. That's what I'm saying to you, Mizzo. But it doesn't do us any good. And I also don't agree with you that the Warriors Kyrie was going to be the difference maker.
They do not become dynastic.
It's the same. It's still 3 and 5 years.
There is a Lakers and a Celtics. There is a Sixers and a Lakers, and if that's the case. But it is not to where Golden State runs off and wins all these finals.
It's still the 3 and 5. It's still 3 and 5 if you flip flop those, Mizzo. Yes or no?
3 and 5. What?
It's still 3 championships in 5 years for the Warriors.
No,
even if you flip flop those, why not?
No. There's no way. Listen, and we can.
They're up 3-1, and Draymond gets suspended.
Listen, man. Listen. Before the Warriors did their thing, have we ever seen a jump shooting team win the NBA championship? Usually, like 99% of the time, the bigger team always wins.
I would argue that the Bulls were a jump shooting team. Sean Paxson and Steve Kerr and BJ Armstrong.
But it was
when it got kicked out to him.
Okay, we can go back then. It was also evolution.
No, you're there. I don't think so. You're right. Okay. So like Trey said, they changed the game.
Sacramento didn't win. Phoenix didn't win. Denver didn't win. These teams all had, great jump shooting teams, and they were able to put up points and also play a little bit of defense, but they never won.
Right, but that's one thing that they said.
Hold on, let's go back to 2005.
But they've always said that.
Let's go back to 2005. What happened?
Pounded us out and said we could never win a championship, and we said we proved them all wrong.
Trapezoid. What happened in 2005 with the trapezoid?
Wait, hold on one second. Hey, welcome everybody. It's the Collective Podcast, episode 6. Thank you guys for coming back. Shout out to the YouTube viewers. Shout out to the Spotify, Anchor, and every other DSP listeners. We appreciate you hanging with us. We are here as we are on a weekly basis on Tuesdays. I'm AEC 360 here with Trey Hop, Hardcore Peace, and Baby Hair 562. Yeah. We are the Collective Podcast. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Joe.
What happened with the trapezoid in 2005? Our officials, what happened to trapezoid in 2005?
Wasn't that official in 2005?
Okay, well, I'm saying what you know what happened. The lane was widened, which allowed point guards to exploit the defense and gave them the ability to throw lobs at the dots.
You talking about the NBA?
Yes.
They never had a trapezoid.
I mean, the lane. The lane.
It was wide.
Okay, it's becoming almost a trapezoid now. Because it's been widened so much. So yeah. Steve Nash had the ability to go in the lane and throw lobs to Stat. After his man was already picked off. So the matchups, because of D'Antoni's system, exploited the defense and gave the advantage to Phoenix based on pick and rolls, both interior and exterior. So both Steve Nash and Stat did not have their men guarding them when points were scored.
But that same pick and roll that they did.
I'm trying to explain it further. I'm trying to explain it further. So Steve Nash wins 2 MVPs off of this. In a year, Kobe goes off, like totally goes off. Like we haven't seen a player go off like Kobe Bryant did at that time. You could say James Harden, whatever you want. Nah, it wasn't. This wasn't the same. So he wins 2 MVP awards, and I heard Bill Walton say in his second year that Steve Nash is the MVP after 10 games. After 10 games into that season.
Okay.
It's media driven.
It's media driven, period.
Yeah, great.
Because no, listen, man. Listen. If we want to explain the game, because this is where we sit, and I feel like it's my responsibility to give the game to the next generation. All right, you have to explain the trappings. You have to explain the context of every single season. Instead of just saying, okay, Stephen Curry, became dynastic and he won all his MVPs, you got to explain like why Golden State was allowed to be in that position. They were in that position because of the lack of interior toughness. The league took the league outside to the perimeter because it wanted Euro trash to also market the league. It wanted to market the league to Europeans. So you began to see the infiltration of European players, the 6'7" guy. Basically, who was the guy? Detlef Schrempf. Okay, his type of player. That's what the league wanted.
Right.
Okay. So when the best of Europe, Asia became able to come over here and shoot threes and stretch the defense, I was done. Because you just make it about 3-point shooting. Like, that's ridiculous. You can go out to the court right now and you'll see young kids not even looking like they have their head up. They don't have their head up anymore. So you see like big men waiting for the ball and they got mismatches. And you see these guys dribbling up top trying to shoot 30-point jump shots. How does that? Please tell me. Since y'all are so affectionate and loving of this era, please tell me how that actually makes the game watchable.
Well, here's the thing. And so the era that we have is the era that we have. So that's the first thing for me. And I'm such a lover, and I can complain, and I do complain about some of the things connected to basketball. But I'm such a lover of basketball that I'm not going to stop watching basketball. And I also feel that sometimes we get wrapped up in one argument, which is valid, the Steve Nash argument or the anti-Steve Nash argument, valid. But when you tie it into Steph Curry with the caveat that he was unanimous and then compare him to all the other people that were not named unanimous, it doesn't mean that he's better than them.
He is the only player in him and Steve Nash. Okay, let's go to Steve Nash. Steve Nash is the only player in sports history to win 2 MVPs and not go to the championship finals. He is the only one. The only one. Like one.
Okay, hold on.
NFL, baseball.
For now.
Basketball.
For now. But let me tell you this. Okay, but I'll tell you this. It's quite possible. And see, you could have, if not for Lamar Jackson last year, well, I guess Mahomes did go and win, so that wouldn't have counted. But Lamar Jackson could win the MVP this year, and then you could say that, but it's different. So we can't just narrow it down to that, right? Because Lamar Jackson,
there's one.
Hold on. But what I'm saying is Lamar Jackson is the front runner for MVP in 2020. Yes, he's the front runner out the gate.
He's the front runner to knowledgeable sports fans, but not the actual NFL and its writer contingent.
But if he gets it and doesn't go, this is when we do believe that this person should have been MVP, even though they didn't get to the show, right? So hold on, I just want to start with that. All right. Steve Nash not deserving. I agree with that, but you're bundling Steph Curry into that, and your main argument, other than Steve Nash just didn't deserve it, is that he didn't win. And you talk about Dirk not winning. Well, Steph did actually win, right? Yes, he's unanimous, and Lamar Jackson should have been unanimous this year. But what? There was one writer who didn't go with it, so he was one vote short of unanimous this season. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. So when you go with that with Steph, and then you go on to say unathletic. That's a quote from you. Listen.
No, I did not say unathletic about any of those players.
Trey?
What? Please give me the context of that.
You said unathletic as Steph Curry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. I totally agree with that. Because the point was this: if the Last Dance is kind of exposing a lot about things, and I'm very appreciative for that. Because it's going to show people, if they have any common sense and intelligence, that Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were not defenders. Okay, so if you are not listen, man. No, listen. I know y'all love him. I know y'all love Magic.
But we all know he didn't play
defense. Y'all love Magic, but he was not a defender. Okay, so if we want to talk about the upper echelon of sports and compare players, and I don't think that we should be comparing players or eras at all. But if we want to go there, okay, LeBron, Mike, Kobe, okay, they are I'm not even going to include Doc with that. Okay, LeBron, Mike, Kobe, in terms of playing both sides of the floor, and you're going to add Kawhi Leonard to that. Kawhi Leonard is going to be in that class, not Kevin Durant, people. Okay, I don't care what y'all say about Kevin Durant playing defense. No, he's not a great on-ball defender. Okay, he may be in this era, but he's not a great on-ball defender. It's Kawhi, it's Kobe, it's Mike, and it's LeBron. Now, people can say that LeBron has fallen off in his last couple of years defensively.
Or I would say that he didn't play defense in the beginning. So you're talking about LeBron. You're talking about Kobe and Mike, who never stopped playing defense.
You know why I said the anti-LeBron thing with Curry? So Marcus Saul, was it 2012? One defensive player of the year.
Blew my mind.
Defensive player of the year was LeBron James. The next year, Noah won Defensive Player of the Year. That was also LeBron James Defensive Player of the Year. Okay, the decision messed everything up for these little soft-ass clowns. Okay, they want to sit here and criticize a player for taking his own legacy into his own hands and going to Miami, okay, and giving Derrick Rose the MVP that season. All right, so I know a writer who did not vote for LeBron James that season. And I cussed him the hell out, and I still will. Okay, so listen, when we were kids, when I was a little kid, there was this thing called Franklin. It was a Franklin, almost looked like a little computer that had the stats of different sports, the history of the stats. So you compare like a Stan Musial to a Reggie Jackson or Ken Griffey to Babe Ruth or whatever. I'm just yeah. And so those stats, as I grew and became to love and play sports, became the barometer for me. So when you see a player who has visibly more accolades and awards than others, they ascend higher historically, because the people who didn't have the ability to go back to that era or even see that era for their own eyes do not realize that the MVPs and whatever have you have become popularity contests. So the reason why I became a follower and a wanting to know more about Wilt Chamberlain is I saw 50 and 25. I saw those great years that I talked to Bob Ryan about, that he says are the best in NBA history, where Wilt was like 24 and 24 for like 3 years, 24, 24 and 8 for like 3 years. And I said to myself, how didn't this guy win MVP? And in every instance, it was a popularity of who the most liked team in the country was at that time. Everyone became a Golden State Warriors fan, in essence, because even LeBron beat your ass, or you were tired of him winning. And you were also subservient to yourselves to not appreciate the greatness of him as he played, because you saw the 23 on the back of his back and the chosen one tattoo, you all of a sudden eliminated this guy because he's not Mike.
No. Okay, so for me,
I'm talking about not y'all. I'm talking about sports.
The masses. Okay.
The masses.
But I think they I feel like they fell in love with LeBron.
Writers. Because of these clown ass writers. I'm not talking about y'all. Okay. I'm talking about how this is going to be pointed towards the future. And how the future is going to look back at LeBron as it did Wilt Chamberlain. It's going to be the same type of thing. What they're going to say is LeBron wasn't a great teammate. How come he went to all these finals and he didn't win one? How come he had to switch teams? That's what I guarantee you that's what it's going to be in the future. Because you ain't got no guys stepping up and writing the right shit.
Yeah, because they already got people saying if Ray Allen doesn't make that shot,
that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Where does LeBron James' career go?
You can say the same thing about Steve Kerr and Mike, right?
Well, I don't think you can say the thing about Mike because the narratives were different. Because Mike was never afraid to take the shot, and that has been the knock on LeBron is that he does it because he's afraid to take the shot.
So we know about when he was 9 years old and he won MVP and he gave the MVP trophies to his teammates. Okay, LeBron is just a good person. He wants everybody to enjoy the spoils.
So Mike Tillery is a writer. Mike Tillery is a writer that I love and respect. And Mike Tillery is someone that holds writers accountable. But boy, is Mike Tillery trying to sell us a bill of goods right now, talking about LeBron was giving out flowers. He's a nice person when he won't take the last shot. No, he didn't have the killer instinct then. You stop that. Don't you ever try to say, he was just sharing and sharing alike. No.
Listen, man,
get him, Rod. Get him, Rod. Don't let him get away with that.
The fight power, you got to give him the same energy. Okay, so it's just as ridiculous to say that he's not a great player for all time. He's LeBron's top 3, man. Okay, I don't care what none of these people say. Whoever says it, he's top 3. Nah. He's top 4. Because I'm going Will, Cat, Mike, LeBron. But I'm going more LeBron and Mike as 1 and 1A because of Phil Jackson, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen.
No Magic Johnson in there at all.
Well, he's stopping Magic because Magic didn't need to play defense on those. Okay, didn't need to play on-ball defense.
So let me ask you this:
it is important for
Magic
you to have
MVP. Did Magic not deserve MVP?
Oh, I'm sure he believes Magic didn't deserve MVP. He probably believes that Magic didn't deserve anything.
So I think that Magic should have won the MVP the year he was 19, 9, and 8.7. I think it was. This was way back in 87.
Magic should have won like 7 MVPs.
Well, I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not saying that he should
win the MVP without playing defense. Then Steph should be able to win too. He made 785 threes in one season or something like that.
I don't care. I don't care, man. Listen, I don't care if he shot 2,000 million. 999,000.
No, he only shot 790. He made 785 of them.
He
only missed 5. He only missed 5 that season.
He's doing something that nobody else can do
because of the change in defense.
No, time out. I got a question. Hold on. Mike. Actually, Trey, I'm not going to steal your thunder because you're going to say it. Go ahead, Trey.
No. Go ahead. The thing is, he's making those shots.
Okay. Yeah. So here's what I want to say to you, Mizzo, and this is where I want you to give the credit. Listen, the defense is the defense, right? How many other people in the league can make those shots, can first of all create that space and make those shots with that kind of consistency?
Okay.
That's the difference.
That's where you right here. I'm asking y'all definitively right here. Okay, so LeBron James is what 25 points a game, right? In these times, 25 to 28 points a game, right?
Okay.
I
don't know. I'm just thinking about the
eight rebounds,
6 finals that he lost.
He was like 8 rebounds, right?
Yeah.
He was like what 8 assists?
This year,
how many steals? How many steals? How many blocks? What does Steph Curry do besides points?
By the way, LeBron.
And also he plays defense.
Wait,
so
what
does Steph Curry do besides making 3 better than 2? Is the question that I ask for any of y'all.
Create.
Yes, 3 is more than 2.
Create. Well, hold on. Create for his teammates, first of all, and second of all, it's funny, and I know that you don't necessarily think about it like this.
Listen, what I'm asking y'all to do right now, is respect 28, 8, and 8.
Oh yeah,
give credit to 28, 8, and 8 as if it's something.
But here's the qualifier.
It's nothing because a guy makes 3 better than 2.
No,
right, and I would argue that triple double
line too.
But here's the other problem.
50, 40, 90 again. Here we go.
Mizzo, here's the other problem.
In the game, a best NBA player makes.
Here's the other problem with your argument. You don't feel like Russell Westbrook should win multiple MVPs and is a triple-double better than 29, 25, 8, and 8? Because someone got over the 10 and the 10, right?
Russell Westbrook been relevant as a team. This is the thing for me. This is what I don't understand from.
Well, he was relevant.
Everybody left.
LeBron James has global influence. He has global challenges. He has global responsibilities. He's busy against the legends of the game.
He's busy.
Correct or not?
He what?
He's playing against the legends of the game, not his actual peers, but the legends of the game.
So 3 and 6 in the finals. 3 and 6 in the finals.
Competition.
3 and 6 in the finals tells me that he is playing against his peers and he's losing.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, man. We can talk about teammates. We can talk about coaches. We can talk about subprime loans from ownership. We could talk about so many things.
Oh, we back to.
Okay. We can talk about so many things here. What I want y'all to do is to appreciate the objectivity of the game, not the current bullshit, moment that we're in right now based on the mainstream media, the definition of the mainstream media when it comes to sports. Okay, I'm asking y'all, I'm begging y'all to do that.
I don't buy into that.
When you talk about Steph Curry as a unanimous player, what you're basically saying is 28, 8, and 8, and a defense and a commitment to defense with lesser talented teams. Okay, does not even.
Are we doing
matter.
that again? Are we doing that again?
It doesn't even matter. It's like he never even did it. But yet this guy's doing 8 straight finals though.
Why was it a lesser
like Steph is just a mediocre player?
He is.
Okay.
He is. I'm gonna be honest with you. Because he does not play defense, y'all. Okay, that matters. Like how does it not matter?
Okay, so let me say this. Let me say this. Let me say this.
Sides of the ball.
Because in the starting 5, you had 3 other people that.
Okay, all right, y'all. Okay, listen. Let me talk y'all back a little bit.
Draymond.
So if you're playing, say you're on the court right now,
and Andre Iguodala.
Say you're on the court right now. You're on the court right now, right? You're bringing the ball up. It's game point or whatever. Your teammate gets torched and gets driven to the rim and dunked on. Yet he has 40 points in the game.
How much time is left on the clock?
Yet he has 40 points in the game.
Does he have 0.8?
What are you going to say to yourself right there? Okay. What are you going to say to yourself right there? That he
first of all,
where he got easily driven to the basket
in this era.
Check this out.
Go ahead, Trey.
Gosh, man, did y'all play basketball? Did y'all play baskel? Did y'all play basketball?
Hey,
did y'all? So when y'all played,
I was a defensive great.
I ain't got a red cape around here, but did y'all just put the red cape? You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. My whole attitude for this game is going to be taking 40.3 points, 40 foot 3-point shots. You know what I'm saying? That's
That's
the crowd's gonna love it. The crowd's gonna love it because it's like amazing.
All right, let me
real quick. Just this one point.
The actual footage is 26 points, but because he shoots it like 50, 90 foot behind the basket, it's somehow better historically than a guy that's 28-8.
Check this out.
Wait, why are you saying historically?
Historically, that's what
nobody said that Steph is better than LeBron overall. That's not true.
Nobody said that.
That's unfair. That's unfair.
So check this out.
I'm speaking from a writer's standpoint. I know how these clowns
play defense, right?
Pass through time.
Steph don't play defense, right?
He don't play no defense. Sorry.
But let me tell you.
Let's be honest
here. All the best defenders in this league, he makes them look like they don't play defense because he be busting their ass. So
and it's not just threes. He takes you off the dribble. He can get to the cup. He can kick out. You act like he's Steve Kerr.
Now.
You act like he's Steve Kerr.
The last thing that Kobe Bryant said to me was this: "I wish the game was tougher."
Great. I do. We all do.
So basically,
but let me tell you, Steph.
I don't think LeBron is.
If the game was tougher or not, he creates space and shoots from.
Soft tell, man. I'm sorry, y'all. Listen, I don't even want to entertain like the audience for the rest of this conversation because listen,
36 minutes on Steph.
It's like this. It's like this. We are in an era of fantasy sports. Okay, so points only matters. If you look at NFL football, the middle of the field is taken away. The same thing in the NBA. It's the same exact thing. And we see how the boom in both fantasy sports has become apparent.
Right.
Where all these people are playing fantasy sports and betting on fantasy sports and winning money. And the whole thing right now is about points.
My thing is,
period. It's not about defense.
But
that's the reason why the Baltimore Ravens was able to run roughside through the league because they played defense and ran the ball.
Okay, so let's
the whole conventional wisdom of the fantasy sports and took it back to where you can actually win by running the ball and playing defense.
Okay, so let's just change that scenario just a little bit. So you're saying it's all about offense and points and points and points.
Period.
Right.
Period.
So what do you say to your best defender that you put on Steph and he scores?
No, I mean,
30 points on.
I'm hoping that y'all are thinking about, you know what I mean, not the obviousness of it all, but going back to the fact that there's no hand checking. You know, fouls are called with the whistle quicker and faster than we've ever seen.
But that's not Steph's fault.
I'm not saying it's his fault. I never said it was his fault. I'm talking about the league in general. The league in general has allowed a player like Steph Curry to become legendary, just as it did with Steve Nash. Yet, he had Chauncey Billups-Pierce. He also had Chris Paul Pierce. Chris Paul took with Tyson Chandler in the lane to another level than Steve Nash was stacked because he was like 26 and 15. Okay, but he did not get the same respect. Okay, so listen. Everybody knows where I'm going with this. It was an attraction to white fans. Period. Just as it allowed Larry Bird to win 3 MVPs coming out of the Knickerbocker era when cocaine was the norm.
The cocaine 80s.
Okay. It allowed Larry Bird to win 3 MVPs despite Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson in particular having great seasons. When you get MVP awards more than once, it shows dominance. Like you are like the dominant force in the league. If you're going to call Steph Curry the dominant force, you can say it offensively all you want, and I will agree with you. I'm saying that Steph Curry is a great player. Offensively. When it comes to defense, the reason why these teams lose is because of a lack of defense.
But he didn't lose.
Kyrie and them finally won against Golden State.
Draymond wasn't there.
Right.
Okay.
Golden State.
Who was the guy? Who was the guy?
The best defender in the series was the best defender in that series was suspended.
And
when Kyrie finally won.
And let me tell you,
and you know that.
God damn, man. I don't even know what to say here. You know what I mean? I really don't know what to say here, and I don't know why the three. I don't know about Rod, but the two
Rod agrees with you. Rod agrees with you.
I really respect as knowledgeable sports people.
You're not even letting us get it out, though.
To sit here and stroke and love the current era of sports.
No, see, that's what
I'm hearing from y'all.
Let me throw myself in here.
I want some.
If Bogut
don't some of this, you know what I'm saying? I want to see some of this.
The Warriors win that still too.
Who?
If Andrew Bogut didn't get hurt, the Warriors.
Oh, man, come on, man. Okay,
let me throw myself in here.
Bogut went down in the draft from Australia.
Yeah, Bogut went.
All right, let me
wanted to say this real quick, Rod. Real quick. I'm sorry. Okay. Listen, Mike. I just wanted to go. I wanted to go back to this just to be clear. I didn't say that I love this era. I don't.
You can't settle for it. You can't. What you said was you gave a disclaimer. What you said was it is the era that we live in, so we have to.
No, I can talk about. No, I'm saying I don't know. I didn't say. No, I said we watch. We watch. We can't have the debate if we don't watch. But this is what I'm saying. Listen, I do really enjoy Steph Curry as a player. I do believe that there are better defenders than him. So let's go with that.
I can name 100.
I will say. Okay. But
that's not an MVP.
Hold on.
That's not an MVP.
Well, but let me tell you what is an MVP. Hold on. Wait, you're not letting me just get the 1 point out because it's Rod's turn, but I just want to get 1 point out. So you gave a line for LeBron. So in 14-15, let me give you a line. 50% shooting.
Yeah, man,
40% from three.
Shit. I'm tired
90% from the free throw line. And led the league in scoring.
Got fired in Memphis, right? John Hollinger got fired in Memphis, right?
And won an MVP.
Okay. John Hollinger got fired in Memphis, right? Yo, he kind of the NBA got rid of a great basketball man and Lionel Hollins for sports analytics. Okay, and the reason why John Hollinger became famous is because of 50-40-90. If we look back at historically on the league, okay, Larry Bird and Ray Allen almost did this for their entire careers. But it was a vogue then. So as soon as you bring out a stack, it becomes vogue. And it allows Steve Nash and Steph Curry to basically.
Why do you keep saying Steve Nash? Why do you keep saying Steve Nash? Steve Nash didn't even play the whole. Okay, I don't know why you keep saying Steve Nash and Steph Curry.
Because it allowed him.
They got the same amount of rings. Listen, LeBron and Steph have the same amount of rings.
Listen, man, it allowed him, also like Steve Largent, over Art Monk and his peers, to be pushed over them into the Hall of Fame. Is Chauncey Billups a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Why?
2004.
I'm talking about his particular attributes.
Well, 2004, I believe, was the where everyone saw it. It was on the biggest and brightest stage, and then people realized, well, he does this all the time.
Is Chauncey Billups given the same respect as Steve Nash historically?
You say
Chris Paul given the same respect as Steve Nash historically?
So I think those are two different questions. Let me answer them.
They're not questions.
Two different questions.
Really not.
This is me. I don't do the historical thing when people are still playing. So I don't believe that we're
listen, you have to because we're not the players. Like Kobe Bryant told me that he only does things in the moment. And I'm cool with that because they're actual players. But we as observers, we always have to look at it in that sense. We have to look at it historically.
So then it's a travesty if you say no to both of those. Because they were both leaps and bounds. Well, Chris Paul is currently, and Chauncey Billups was, leaps and bounds above and beyond Steve Nash. So
there's a difference between those three players and his defense. Is my point. Like, it's become a pejorative. that these two incredible players aren't looked at as iconic by writers, despite the fact that they played defense so many levels above Steve Nash. It's like cut off. It's like, but you gotta understand where I come from. So I'm looking at like the same thing with quarterbacks. And I said this before, that the quarterback position is looked at as lesser if you can run the ball. Like as if 1,000 yards isn't 100 first downs that leads to victory. Okay, so for the same thing in defense in basketball, if you have the ability to stop a team when you're up 1 point for victory, because you play defense, no matter how many points that the opposition player, that Steve Nash guy scored, or how many plays he makes, or whatever, you won the game. Okay, you won the game because you played defense. That's why you won. You weren't just outscored. Didn't outscore them. You stopped them when it mattered.
Right.
Like, that's like a big part of the game. It's a big part of history. You cannot look past it. You can't look past it. You can't say that this is the ABA. You can't say that this is the ABA and say, okay, we outscored on 140 to 139, so we won the game. Let
me jump in this real quick, because both points are valid. Now, Steve Nash couldn't guard a mop bucket at all. That part is clear. Steph Curry puts effort on defense. So
told you.
There are people that Steph Curry can guard. He may not be able to guard elite people, but there are plenty guards that he can guard in the league. Now, I will say now, because now you have and both Curry and LeBron benefit greatly more than anybody in Euroball because they set a lot of high screens. And so what happens with these kids growing up playing AAU ball is that they become systemized at like 8 years old. And they lose the creativity that we all grew up learning on the playgrounds. Now, an AAU coach won't say that because they feel like, hey, no, my kids can dribble. I teach them how to shoot. I teach them how to pass. They're skilled, but the creativity is lost. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. You learn creativity on a playground when you don't always have someone good on your squad, where you are constantly the person who has to get a bucket for you guys not to be sitting on the sideline after that game is over.
And no charges on the asphalt, right? No charges. Say again? No charges are on the asphalt.
No charges.
Okay.
No charges.
Which has become a picture of defense now.
Right. So now there are two different types of defenders. Well, actually, three different types of defenders. There are the defenders like Chris Paul or Sedale 3, who could pick your pocket if you put the ball on the floor. Magic wasn't that. There are team defenders like Magic, and I would also put, in my opinion, I would put mostly all the defenders in the league right now are like that, because no one actually has to guard one particular person the whole game, the way the schemes are set up in today's game. It's ball rotation on offense and it's schemes on defense. So, like I said in our previous show, you won't see Kawhi locked up with LeBron the whole 48 minutes like you would have before, because one-on-one, the way it was in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, if you got Kawhi on LeBron won't be able to put the ball on the floor. Kawhi is too good a defender for that. And those high screens allow LeBron to get to the basket, because what it does is creates a switch with now that big has to switch to LeBron. And with Euroball, that's a nightmare, which is what makes LeBron so scary on pick and rolls, because now you got that big stiff out there trying to keep LeBron from going to the basket. and he's so fast and so strong that he's going to get a dunk. And if you try to get a wing defender to help out in the lane and stick a hand out there to make him pick up his dribble, he's going to kick it out and they're going to hit a three, because that's what Euroball does. It keeps shooters on the wings at all times. So I don't get caught up in the numbers as other people do, because I know that in that type of system, if you running that type of play all game long, your numbers are going to be inflated. And people hate when I say that, but that's just what it is. So when I see 28-8 or 30-10-12 or something like that in today's game, it's just like, okay, they had a pretty good game, but when I see Russell Westbrook getting 14 rebounds in the first half, I know what it is.
But there's a difference between Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, though. There's a huge difference. A huge difference,
Russell,
man.
But Russell,
you cannot
and I'm only using that as an example.
Into a triple double with a guy who doesn't even sniff the finals. Like this guy is doing 28-8 and also going to the finals every year. I will respect that for time. I will make sure that it is respected for time outside of this triple double nonsense that because Oscar was original dude. And Oscar does not get the full respect that he does because of ESPN.
Right.
Okay.
I agree with
ESPN says that it's this. The whole league began with one player. Everybody wants to be like Mike. So when Westbrook and Harden began to do all these crazy things, the one name was mentioned and nobody hasn't mentioned in a long time. It was Wilt Chamberlain. Okay? So they were forced to put him on graphics. But they would say stuff like the modern era or before 1970 or whatever they would say. Okay? So this is what I'm telling y'all. I'm not disputing what you guys are saying. But what I'm saying is this whole sports era has been defined by ESPN and Michael Jordan.
True.
It has been. You can't tell me that it hasn't been. I watched it. I love sports. Okay, and if I'm seeing things that I respect based on respectful info, I'm not going to be as passionate as I am right now. I did not see the same respect given to Chris Paul after Steve Nash.
Very true.
Chauncey Billups. I did not see it. I gotta talk about it. I gotta talk about it because I'm a historian. I gotta make sure that gap is spoken about. And then we get to the fact that Steph Curry does these kind of same things as Steve Nash, and he scores more points, and he becomes this global player. Okay, I got to talk about the fact that he does not play defense. I'm not going to give him credit. I'm not going to give him credit like I would a Magic or Larry Bird for effort. I'm not.
I'm getting ready to jump back in there.
It's not the same effort.
Let me jump back in there. So that third defender is me. I'll to make it plain. When I played basketball in high school growing up, I was only about 5'9", 5'8", 5'9". I could jump.
Trey and I'll take that.
There were quite a few people that I could, get the ball from off the dribble, stuff like that. I knew how to play passing lanes, but there were a lot of people bigger than me. So that wasn't always going to be the case for me. So what I had to do was make sure they took a tough shot and miss. So you got that kind of defender too. And that doesn't show up in stats because you're not getting a steal, you're not getting a block, and you may necessarily not get a rebound. Someone else may get that long rebound that you cause. So you can cause someone to go 2 for 15 and not get any stats from it. So as far as some of these guys that we call great defenders, I mean, even Jordan himself had trouble with small, quick guards. I mean, like we've seen,
yeah, of course,
right? Isaiah, Abdul-Rauf hit them for 50. I mean, we've seen that. I'm going to work at 12. You know, Magic couldn't guard small guards, but the difference is Magic didn't look sexy doing it, and Jordan did. Jordan looked athletic. He looked like he could stop somebody. Magic didn't. Magic wasn't ripped, muscular. You know, he didn't have that type of physique. So that goes to the next point. Jordan was the most marketable player in the history of the game. He had the look. You know, when he put his suits on, when he put his shoes and asked for his shorts to be a little longer, he just had what we today call swag when it came on, and that's what he gets pushed in the upper echelon for, in my opinion, not because he was the greatest as far as what he did on the floor, although he was great, and I definitely won't take that away from him. But I think a lot of times in today's game, we get caught up in the highlights and in the numbers, and we really don't do our homework on what the league is looking for and what they're all about. Like Mizzo, you brought up the real quick. You brought up the year that Marc Gasol won the Defensive Player of the Year, which I'm glad you did, because that was a turning point in what the league was looking for. They were looking for at those few years around that time, because he wasn't the only one. That it had me scratching my head, like, how did Marc Gasol win Defensive Player of the Year? And then
what team did he play for?
And I think so he was the defensive anchor on the league's best defensive team. And so the title defensive player had changed. Now the MVP title has also changed, because back then in the 80s and 90s, they put more stock in the regular season MVP and they gave little stock to the playoff MVP. And then over the years, that regular season MVP was a kind of award like, well, let's see who's really been playing hard at a high level that hasn't had it. We should give it to this person.
It's like homecoming king versus prom king.
Right. So you've seen, you started to witness all of these different players who had played at a high level getting MVPs, whether it was Barkley, it was Shaq, it was Karl Malone, and not saying that none of those years they didn't deserve it. I mean, to me, Shaq should have won several MVPs. There was no one more dominant in the league than Shaq.
He would have won if he could shoot free throws.
Well, but the free throws won't kill you for MVP. That I don't agree with that part.
Because they won championships.
When you dominate and you can automatically, your presence adds 30 games to 30 wins to a season for your team, there's no way you shouldn't get MVP. I mean, his presence alone added 30 wins to whatever they were going to get.
Yeah, I get that. The reason I had said it is because they would have probably won another 15 games that were close if he could shoot free throws.
Yeah, but they were winning 60 every season.
Yeah,
on an average between 57 and 62.
Sack was the only team better than record-wise. Sack was the only one.
But honestly, my opinion is with going to the Steve Nash thing. It was definitely as a result of Kobe having that case in Colorado.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think that's the scapegoat.
Those trophies were earmarked for Kobe.
It's the scapegoat. The league wanted Steve Nash to win.
They did.
They wanted him to win. And you know what was real crazy? No, I'm gonna tell you something that was real crazy. So I was going into locker rooms and players, Ben Gordon in particular, told me that Steve Nash was the best player in the NBA.
Ben Gordon said that?
NBA, and this began to be something as I went into more locker rooms. Okay,
yeah, that's great.
Controls minds. I wrote a piece about it. One of the first pieces that I ever written. The True First tabloid. You know,
They do.
I can't now, yo. I can't be a part of this. I cannot be a part of this continuation of falsehoods. It's false. It's so false because the players again that I look at and I will continue to look at and I will always mention these players is Chauncey Billups and Chris Paul versus Steve Nash.
Yeah.
I will always do it because
I don't know if you guys remember.
I truly feel that those players will not be shined and historically because of Steve Nash. The kids, again, will look at their little Franklins. That's the reason why I mentioned that. And see 2 MVP awards by Steve Nash and consider him a better player.
Right. That's why I don't go for the
issue with me. That's the issue why I'm bringing up this defense thing.
Okay, so here's
the sole reason. It's the sole reason, y'all. I'm sorry.
I'm going back.
I'm going
back to this. I'm going back to this. So that may be the case. I hope it's not the case.
It will be the case. I guarantee it will be the case.
I hope that. Okay. Well, I'm hoping then maybe we can continue to educate people so that they'll educate people. So each one teach one. That even when you look at the MVPs, you got to dig a little deeper. You got to say, okay, well, who else was doing something in those seasons, and what kind of seasons did they have, and what kind of impact did they have on the game overall? But the issue that I have is not your argument about or your argument against Steve Nash. The issue that I've got is that when they do look back and see Steph Curry, they'll see that Steph Curry was an exemplary player who wasn't the greatest defender.
They will never mention defense is the point, man. They will never mention defense. They will hold LeBron James' ability to play defense against versus a Steph Curry.
Is Ray Allen a Hall of Famer?
Huh?
Is Ray Allen a Hall of Famer?
Ray Allen is not looked at.
Is Ray Allen a Hall of Famer, Mike Tillery?
Hell yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. But he will not be looked at as a Steph Curry.
Why? Why is he a Hall of Famer?
He will not be looked at as a Steph.
Why is he a Hall of Famer?
50-40-90 most of his career, like I told y'all.
He was what?
He was 50-40-90 for the most of his career.
What is that? What is 50-40-90?
It's shooting. It's shooting.
But why is he a Hall of Famer?
Steph Curry is a shooter.
No, I said Ray Allen. Is Ray Allen a Hall of Famer?
I believe, yes, he is. Yes.
Why? Why is he a Hall of Famer? That's what I'm asking you.
Because he can shoot.
Oh.
But that's why
Anthony, please, y'all, please,
Hall of Famers,
please don't insult my intelligence here. Okay, I'm asking you, please, for these people out here that are listening to us, don't insult my intelligence. I did not elevate Ray Allen or any other shooter like Michael Jordan's teammate that was a great shooter. Okay, back in the day, he was a great shooter. His team, his roommate in college, okay, was a great shooter that would right now probably be a superstar because of his ability to shoot. What kept him out of the league, what's his name, Buzz Peterson? I got that right? His North Carolina teammate, okay. What kept him out of the league was he did not play defense. Okay,
right, well, let me just ask you this thing.
Huh?
Like, people win MVPs of the league, like Peyton Manning's, and Peyton Manning could only
listen, man. Okay, you're going right down my alley again because I wrote a piece called "The Lie of Peyton Manning." Matter of fact, somebody just put up a graphic. Okay, that I gotta mention.
Because Peyton Manning
touchdown passes the first round draft picks. Peyton Manning has 293 touchdowns to first round draft picks. Eli 135, Brett Favre 127, Tom Brady 105, Drew Brees 104, Dan Marino 84, Frank Tarkin 74, Ben Roethlisberger 69, Phillip Rivers 35, Aaron Rodgers has 1. How many of those are Cam Newton? How many of those are Russell Wilson? You know what I mean? So this is what I'm talking about. You got a majority white media writing about their sons. They see their sons. Okay, their editors, the publishers see their sons. Okay, Gronkowski and Tom Brady are not excoriated for orchestrating their way out of New England. No one has criticized them. Why not? And why is we as black people Black intelligent men also not criticizing them. This is what I'm telling y'all. Listen, I love sports so much, yo. I love sports so much as a father, a coach, an athlete myself, that I got to point out the truth of it. I cannot stick in the matrix, the current state of time, and define sports based on just what I see. My history has to go back to the Eastern League, where players that went into the NBA were criticized and called coons because they left the Eastern League. Oscar Robertson being one of them. Okay, my history goes way back to there. So I have to really look at sports in a 50 to 60 year context. I cannot simply define it based on 5 or 10 years, because as trends happen, and I've seen all of the trends of the back in the day and whatever, the fact that his own players voted on MVPs in Wilt's time. Okay, I have to look at it like that. I cannot look at it based on like a 2 to 3 year window that we're in right now. I can't do it. I can't do it. It rubs me the absolute wrong way for me to even consider it. So when I see very intelligent people, I'm not speaking about y'all. When I see very intelligent people, I say, okay, this guy's the best ever. Steph Curry ain't the best ever shooter. I'm sorry, he's not the best ever shooter. We're looking at right now with the no hand checking rules.
Who could shoot better than him?
The best shooter when his Pop was a great shooter in a great defensive era, and Reggie Miller and so many other guys when people actually played defense. And
Reggie Miller said, we're
really gonna call this guy the best shooter ever in the league that plays no defense.
Reggie Miller said he couldn't shoot like Steph Curry.
Man, I'm talking.
I don't put
the shooting.
Yeah,
it's not
they say that in the media, but I don't put any stock in that. Just like Magic says, oh, he gives all this credit to Michael Jordan. We know Magic's personality from back in the day. Magic didn't bow down to anybody. Now he says the ambassador type stuff on television. Now he's older, and Magic and Doc have had to basically walk that tightrope to where they couldn't offend anybody, because Magic definitely had to, and so did Doc. Those two in particular, more than anybody that I know of, have had to walk that tightrope. But we know Magic was not going to bow down. And I just had this conversation yesterday when someone said, oh, you know what, MJ beat the hell out of Magic in the finals. The Lakers were reloading when Chicago beat them. Vlade, Eldon Campbell were rookies. They went and got Terry Teagle from Golden State, and he was like the sixth man. Michael Cooper was gone. Kareem had just took his 20 and 10 at 42 years old and called it a wrap. You give Jerry West another year to go get somebody else to help Magic, who had just won MVP the previous year, so his play wasn't falling off. And I guarantee you they would have came reloaded, and there may have that story probably would have been written a little different. I won't say who would win, but Magic had absolutely no help when they faced them. I mean, he was getting doubled by Pippen and Jordan in the finals. Listen, and had really no one to give it to.
It's straight up like this. It's straight up like this. When I go into a locker room and I see either the majority of the media throng or even half or even a quarter look like me, I'll appreciate the written words of this time. Until I see that, I can't F with it. I can't. Yeah. I can't F with the stories written, the narratives written. One of the biggest things that I've been a part of in terms of me writing on my blog, Starting Five, was this. I began a term called change the narrative. Hashtag change the narrative. It's something that everybody says now. Okay? It's partly because Jay Adonde put it in one of his stories where I asked, and I think AC, you were part of this, I asked like 20, 30 people, celebrities, all types of entertainers, sports writers, athletes, to answer questions about LeBron James. Do you remember after the decision, what became a narrative? They went to Michael, they went to Magic, they went to Bird, they went to Barkley, and asked them, would you do the same thing if you could have back then? They all said no. So essentially, by them saying no, and their iconic and legendary status, okay, they dismiss the greatest player of this era. And that became the hatred that becomes so insidious with LeBron James, despite all of the stuff he does on and off the field that everybody knows about, but it's dismissed. Okay? I can't do this Steph Curry defensive thing.
Okay, so
I can't do it. Like, it's disgusting. It's becoming disgusting. And it's becoming disgusting that you are continuing to defend it. Seriously. So, I mean, I'm not here. But so listen. If we're going to define players by errors, we have to talk about their total game. We can't give them credit saying he gave the effort. We can't do that. We have to talk about strength and weaknesses. If you're going to say that LeBron James passes the ball in the fourth quarter, then you also have to say Steph Curry doesn't play a minute of goddamn defense. Period.
Okay, so
you have to say that.
So hold on.
It has to be part of their obituary.
Okay, so Mizzo. Yes, if it's true, but here's the problem. What we can say is Steph Curry is not a great defender. We can't say he doesn't play a minute of defense.
He doesn't play defense,
not true.
Man. I'm sorry. He doesn't play defense.
He doesn't play it. He doesn't play it as well as other
his peers. They kill him. They can't wait for him to guard them.
He doesn't play defense as well as
the
other elite.
That is a disclaimer. Okay, that becomes a disclaimer. Tell it exactly like it is. He does not play defense. Don't give him credit by saying he gets effort or he does not play better.
Then if that's the extreme, if that's the extreme, and you got us on Steph for an hour and 12 minutes. If that's the extreme and that's what we're going with, then here's the thing. So he doesn't play defense and no one plays offense like him, and his offense is so much of a strength that it outweighs his weakness. Huh?
No one shoots the ball like him. He's a great shooter. I never said that he wasn't, man. He's a legendary shooter.
Offensive player.
We're giving this dude way too much credit, man. We're giving this dude way too much credit.
Here's the problem.
One dude.
What we did was
in the league where a 6'8" guy who is totally dominant has been totally dominant. He has been in the finals for most of his career with different teams. And we always are seeking to find the anti of this guy. Like we're trying to find an anti of this guy. Instead of like appreciating his time, we can appreciate everyone. That's basically what I'm saying here. Appreciate everyone, but we don't have to knock this guy off by giving this other guy a unanimous MVP when we've seen what he's done in this league that's unanimous. But we're respecting just this one guy. Like that's crazy to me.
So the main problem that I have, so fine.
Harden and other guys to also ascend to those lists.
So here's the big thing, and then we need to move on from this. The big thing is that you're stuck on, in my mind, the fact that he was a unanimous MVP.
No, I'm not stuck on that. I'm not just stuck on that. I'm stuck on the fact that there is not a mention that he does not play defense. If there was a mention,
yes, there is. Yes, there is. They do mention that, Mizzo. You're not being fair. They mention it all the time. Everybody, even the media, they talk about the fact that he's a defensive liability.
I'm not going to give credit to none of these media members right now. Okay? Because all they're trying to do is get to ESPN and be on TV. That's all they're trying to do.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Okay? So I can't give them respect. You can't so
don't give them respect. So this is us talking. That's fine. So with us talking, this is what I'm saying. He's a defensive liability at times.
He's a winner. Liability all the time.
I don't talk in extremes like that. I don't speak in extremes like that.
Like, okay, so who is he? Who is he not guarding? Patrick Beverley?
So check this out. You know why you can't say all the time?
Who is he guarding? Like y'all say that he's
Mizzo, you can't say all the time.
All the time. I have never seen Steph Curry make an on-ball play outside of a steal.
How many steals does he get? Go ahead, Trey.
Have you seen Steph Curry block a shot?
Yes, and he takes charges and he steals the ball.
Okay. So
he doesn't agree. He doesn't think charges are a thing. He doesn't agree with that. He doesn't think charges are a thing.
So y'all saying that he blocks shots? So all of a sudden he's a shot blocker.
He blocks some shots.
He's a shot blocker. He's a shot blocker now.
He's as much of a shot blocker as Kyrie Erving is.
Come on,
he's the same shot blocker as Kyrie Erving.
Why are we having this discussion right here? I'm trying to get
this what you want to do.
Common sense here. Like I'm trying to get people to have some common sense.
But let me ask you this: when you
they
steal
are all
right?
a product of Euroball, all of them in this era, which is why it's hard for me to watch. It's all Euroball. Curry, LeBron included. They are all there is no balance in the league. And David Stern, you did put Nash and Nowitzki and some of these players out there so that they could take the ball to take the game global. He wanted scoring. He wanted scoring to increase viewership and draw more fans. I don't like it.
Steph Curry is more of a product of Euroball than LeBron James, though.
I think they both are, because LeBron has no mid-range game at all. And I've always hated it because he won't work on it.
Here's another thing about LeBron. And you're the main one who came on the show saying that you didn't want to compare people and have one taken away from the other. And then here you go chopping down Steph. I'm fine with the chopping down of Steve Nash.
Chopping down him like it's a tree out.
Let me tell you about LeBron James. Let me say one thing. And then we're moving on. This is what's important. First, and here's the thing. Thank you again, YouTube viewership. Thank you again, DSP listenership, Spotify, Anchor, all of that. We appreciate you. Mizzo, here's the thing. LeBron's a great defender, right?
Okay.
But guess what?
I'm not saying LeBron.
I definitely wouldn't say great.
I'm just talking to the guy with the tricolored cape over there. What'd you say? You saying no?
You're saying he's not. He's not a great defender. He was not a great defender. He was a great defender from 2012 to 2013, where he should have won 2 Defensive Player of the Year award.
So you don't think he's a great defender?
He's played 8,000 more minutes than the next guy. So I get it.
So we're making excuses. Okay.
8,000 more minutes. 8,000 more minutes. 8,000 more minutes. 8,000 more minutes. Come on, man. I'm
going to ask you for a favor. So when we talk about the great defenders, can you please stop including him with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant? I'm going to ask you for that. Stop including him when you talk about great defenders, please. And then I want you to pay attention to the fact that as good a defender as he is, a lot of it is the defensive schemes or the defense that is played on the way that offense is played now. A lot of what he's doing is help defense. He's sagging off of his player or his player in this game. Okay, I just want to say that because you talked a lot about
again, coaching comes in, man. Again, coaching comes in.
I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Great. I want to make sure we're on the same page with that. Not a great on-ball defender by any means.
Let me throw in this.
If you can sit here and say extremes like he's not a great defender, then you can also say that Steph Curry does not play defense.
Let me throw in this one important. Let me throw in this one important fact.
You can't insult my feelings by trying to get that in right there. Okay, you kind of snuck that in right there. Come on, man. You kind of snuck that in right now. The parallels are congruent. They are exactly the same. You have to respect me by saying that what I just said is, okay, LeBron's not a great defender. I admitted that. I'm not saying that. But I'm also going to say and go to my grave as saying that Steph Curry does not play defense.
I'm gonna say it like this.
It's what's this, like ghost or what's this like
hardcore piece?
Something above me saying that is anything different. I don't know.
Let me ask you this, Mizzo. Do you think he tries to play defense?
He doesn't care about
that. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
That absolutely does not matter. Okay, so I'm going to give him my little guy plays back.
My little guy plays.
I'm supposed to give him points because he tries.
But if he tries to play something, he's just not good at it. You can't say he don't do it at all.
He does not play defense, dude. Okay.
Let me throw in this
damn he tries
fact.
or not. He does not play defense.
Okay, Rod didn't mean. Let
me throw in this important fact. Keep in mind with the league right now that the league is very unpolished because most of the league are players who came in at 18, 19 years old who have quote unquote huge upside. You hear that every draft. These GMs, they draft these young guys with the hopes that, well, he has the physical body to be a great defender, to be a skilled, whatever they want to have. But most of these players have not developed into what they're looking for. So you have a very low product on the floor right now. These players, I mean, like with the great players that are in the league, they have a much easier time considering there are so many players who don't know how to play. So that's why I got caught up. I initially got caught up in the Steph Curry highlights too for a minute, but then I stepped back and I as far as him being the greatest shooter, I will go with Mizzo on that. After watching and looking at more tape of some other shooters like Eddie Johnson and Reggie Miller,
Tom Chambers. You know what I'm saying?
They did it against much tougher defenders, and they did it the whole game. And so
game for the whole season.
And I have to think about if speed and quickness were still a real issue like it was, would Curry still get those shots off? And
he'd be his dad.
That was a reason. And that was a reason why he fell to number 10 in the draft, because they questioned his speed and quickness. But speed and quickness is not necessarily a big issue now like it was then, because then they didn't have as many high screen and rolls and you had to get to the basket by yourself.
Yep.
Now they run screens at the top of the floor or wherever you like your shots. So you're going to get to those spaces because you're going to have help getting there. And when I consider that, I have to put Reggie Miller or Dale Ellis or somebody back at the top. And I have to drop him back down because, like I said, when those defensive schemes have switches all over the floor, now he's not shooting over Kawhi Leonard. He's shooting over Joe Blow, whoever that guy rotating over is, which makes it much easier for him. So when I put that in the equation, it brings me back off of that highlight type thing where I get caught up in, man, that dude just pulled up from 35 feet. It is, and you know, the game is just so much different. You can't compare. I mean, there's no Muggsy Bogues out there picking you up
94
immediately after the inbound pass and hounding you all game the same speed, because that takes a lot of your legs out in the fourth quarter. So he's got the you know, the added bonus of not being picked up full court or running into half court traps where they're trying to get the ball out of his hands. And he's got legs in the fourth quarter, whereas Reggie Miller played a whole game and still get the 8 points in 9 seconds in the fourth quarter.
Are we doing that? So I don't know why y'all keep shooting at me. So now we're doing the Reggie Miller 8 points and 9 points in 8 seconds. We're going to do that? Come on, official. How many offensive fouls happen right there, Rod? That's what you want to do? That's what you want to do? Hold on, Mizzo, because now he's cursing at me. So that's what you want to talk about. That's what you want to talk about. Now, Reggie Miller is a Bruin, but Reggie Miller mugged that man and then hit that shot. That's not basketball in any era. That wasn't even acceptable then. No, you listen. This is what I want to say. I don't want to listen. I appreciate Steph Curry. I don't want to wave his banner. I don't want to run and make you think that I believe he's the greatest player of all time. He is someone that I do enjoy. I know that he's not a great defender. Well, okay, let me say it differently. This is what I want to say it differently. No. Let me say it. No. I'm going to say it. This is what I was trying to say earlier.
At all.
No, Mike, this is what I'm saying. LeBron is a way better defender than Steph Curry. That's how I'll say it, and I feel like we can close it with that.
That's a politician speaking right there, man.
LeBron is a way better defender. Steph Curry, as elite players go, is an inferior defender. LeBron, as elite players go, is an average defender, as elite players go. Okay, so there, boom, we finally found common ground.
You didn't say that an hour ago.
I believe I did. I believe I did.
All that right there.
I said he was an inferior defender. My problem was that you say he doesn't play at all, and I feel like there are times when he's okay, but we just agreed on a line that we agreed on, right? We just agreed on.
We agree.
Steph Curry is an inferior defender as elite players go, and LeBron is an average defender as elite players go. So when we look at it like that, I think all four of us can agree with that. But I don't think that diminishes the fact that in this era, you have people shine more than others in some points. And I don't believe that this era is the same as the Steve Nash era. I don't believe that this argument is the same as the Steve Nash argument. I don't believe that the Steph Curry MVPs are the same as the Steve Nash MVPs. The Steve Nash MVPs were disrespectful to Kobe Bryant.
And Shaquille O'Neal and Dwayne Wade and Jason Kidd and Tim Duncan and so many other dudes, man.
About who should have gotten them. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the era overall, but what I'm talking about is who should have gotten them when he got them. So that's why it's particularly
Gary Payton as well. This eliminates Gary Payton from this argument, despite being 9-time all first team all NBA. Kobe Bryant was 9-time all NBA first team, right?
You mean on defense? On defense first.
These things have to be mentioned. That's what I'm saying about Steph Curry.
Yeah. I don't think
players. You gotta talk about that.
We don't have to diminish anything that Steph Curry did.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
These other people. Guess what? None of them won championships except for Kobe. None of them won championships except for Kobe. Now what?
Teammates.
Okay, you have to wait.
So what I'm saying
hand-checking rules. I mean, there's so much, man. I look like again, man. I look at the game and it's
right. And LeBron can't be hand-checked
in a square.
LeBron
square. That's the
LeBron is playing.
You see that little sandbox right there?
We just found common ground. Why are we going back? Why are we regressing? We just found common ground.
Yeah, but that's one thing. They did call hand check fouls back then. I've been watching a lot of video. They didn't call it hand checking fouls. Or
they call it hold.
They just called a hold or a foul, but they didn't call it.
It actually went from
they did blow the whistle for 2 hands in the torso, and they didn't call freedom of movement type. They didn't use those terms, but they definitely blew the whistle. So I've no longer even put that in the equation.
So we are.
Didn't it go from hand checking, and then after hand checking, you had to use your forearm?
Well, and you can still use your forearm if someone's back is turned. You can never use your forearm when they're facing you. Right. So that stays the same.
Unless it's against your body. If you keep it pressed against your body, you can use the forearm, but as soon as you extend it, that's what we call an arm bar.
Right.
So listen, we're 90. Yes, we're 90 minutes in, and boy, has this been amazing. And we haven't even talked about. We just talked about brother Steph Curry.
Yeah, we said good morning and just that was Steph
for 90 minutes. And this is guys. This is what I want you to understand. These are my guys. I've known Trey basically my entire life and played sports with him. I've known Rod for about 13 years now. But this other guy, Mike Tillery. Boy, did we fight battles together in journalism. Like
when he more coffee
earlier about looking at a locker room and seeing, less than 25% of us. Well, there have been plenty of times in his journalism career where he's been the only one of us in the locker room. Plenty of times in my journalism career where I've been the only one of us in the locker room, and it's getting better, but it's about the same as those of us that are GMs, those of us that are team presidents and all that. Is just not enough at all. And then there are some of us that are there that, boy, do they have the wrong narrative. They just go ahead and exacerbate the wrongs that are already written by the others. And it's a bad situation. So as much as we joke about things, I want you all to know that I am aligned with Mizzo, with Mike Tillery, and I'm going to continue to fight the fight with him.